Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Neeru Tandon, Department of English, VSST College, Kanpur. We are dealing with paper 13 Linguistics. This module number 10 is stress, rhythm and intonation in connected speech has been written by me. In this module, we will discuss the importance and pattern of stress, rhythm and intonation when we use them in English language, specifically in connected speech. So first of all, we'll come to know what do we mean by connected speech. What is the importance of stress, where to put stress and how to recognize various rules related with putting stress on particular word or particular letter. In the same way, when we deal with intonation, what is intonation and then how far intonation can be responsible for conveying and communicating the meaning. So, just first understand what is connected speech. Connected speech or connected discourse in linguistics is a continuous sequence of sounds forming utterances or conversations in spoken language. Analysis of connected speech shows sound changes affecting linguistic units traditionally described as phrases, words, lexemes, morphemes, syllables, phonemes or phones. The words that are modified by those rules will sound differently in connected speech than in citation from canonical form or isolation form, unquote. This definition was given by Wikipedia. So there is often a substantial differentiation between the way words are pronounced in separation and words are pronounced in the context of the connected speech. Connected speech, also known as connected discourse, is related with the spoken part of the language under continuous sequence in normal talks. Now you can see in this figure on your screen that students need a lot of exposure to the target language. They should know the idiomatic expression and understand the cultures. There is the role of the connected speech. You have all these forms, informal, formal, then you have accuracy and fluency. Now various things are there in accuracy and other things are there in fluency. They are different. Pronunciation, intonation, spelling, vocab, grammar, all these are part of accuracy, how accurate you are in your spoken or written language. But when it comes to fluency, fluency is only the part of the spoken language and not the written language. So there comes the role of spontaneousness, short answers, improvised answers and fluency, the speed and mistakes that you commit. So there must be a balance between accuracy and practice, fluency practice, and context are also important to understand and to make it for others easy to understand for others as well. Now various things that we must take into care, and one important thing out of that is assimilation. Assimilation is when the sound at the end of one word changes to make it easier to say the next word. For example, 10 boys, T-E-N, 10, B-O-Y-S, boys. It sounds like 10 boys, them boys. The N sound changes to the bilabial M to make it easier to transition to the also bilabial B, that is B, boys. Them boys. So that is the assimilation. Now what are the various types of assimilation? One is progressive. The interchange of a sound when often take place and identified in plural form words like dogs. The transcription of dogs will be like this. So most of the time it changes when the consonant sound S, S is followed by the voiced consonants such as G, J, or D. So that is, and the vowel E. So assimilation takes place and the fluency comes automatically. Other than assimilation, there is elision. Elision means that you evade a sound in the middle of a consonant cluster. Sometimes from the middle of a word, like when we say sandwich, this D is just not there. So sandwich becomes sandwich. Or from the end of the word, for example, when we say fish and chips, so it becomes fish and chips in continuation, in fluency, and this and is omitted. So in other words, this way we can define that elision is the loss of a phoneme, most commonly the last phoneme of a word, and most commonly the t and d sounds. Have a look at these examples. Left back, stand by, look back. In each case, the last phoneme of the first word is lost. In the most simple terms, the reason is that the time and effort required to change the mouth position from the t to the b sound, as in the first example, like left back, we'll have to give that space, otherwise left back. So this t is lost. This is something that comes as a technique, as a procedure, and elision takes place to give it the fluency to the language. The next procedure comes in the form of catenation. Catenation is when the last consonant of the first word is joined to the first vowel of the next word. Just for an example, an apple. This is an apple and it sounds like a napple. An apple. Teacher, what is an apple? Pick it up. That is pick it up. So, and it sounds like pick it up. Pick it up. What is it? And learners will hear something like, what is it? So that is when fluency comes. So catenation helps you to just bring the fluency in the sentence. Now, one more technique is delayed plosion. The pause before the plosive gives us the name delayed plosion. For example, our red dye and red eye is an example. Like to articulate red dye, we must take a very short pause before the d sound. Red dye. The same D of the red and D of the dye, they are together and we will have to have just a gap between the two. So red dye is an example. If we say that red eye, so no need of any other gap. So this is called plosive, consonant sounds where the vocal tract stops all airflow. Another example, the right eye, T, both the T's are there, right eye or the right eye, so no delay. So other examples are b, d, g, p, t and k sounds. We have intrusion. What is intrusion? This is when an extra sound intrudes. There are three sounds that often do this intrusion: r, z and w. For example, go on sounds like go on. This comes w instead of o. So go on. I agree sounds like agree. I agree sounds like agree. Law and order sounds like law and order. This n and becomes n. So this is called intrusion. Then there is liaison, when we link or join together the sounds what this French word refers. Linguistic pronunciation of the usually silent consonant final at the end of a word immediately before another word commencing with a vowel in such a way that the consonant is taken over as the initial sound of the following word, that is liaison. So we have already discussed assimilation, reduction, elision and liaison. Going through this, you will get the examples and the features in the nutshell. Now in this video, you will just come to know about various details. How do we pronounce? What is the importance of stress, intonation and rhythm in NL? This is just one word, pronunciation. So how do we go about pronouncing the pronunciation is explained in this particular video. How to teach pronunciation. Teachers, they may also take care of these things, and students who are studying on their own, they can also take care of the particular things. That pronunciation of any word involves word stress, sentence stress and intonation. You must have 3 parts in every pronunciation lesson. Imitation. Use a recording from television, radio, internet, YouTube for variety. Explanation. Reviewing the parts of the mouth can help your students clearly understand how to make appropriate English sounds. Practice. After imitating the sound and learning from the correct biology or correct movement of the mouth, you should practice it again and again to make it your own. Now, what are the stress patterns in connected speech? Most spoken languages will stress a syllable in each word. That is a common thing. Rather than using a monotone to deliver all syllables, one syllable in each word is emphasized. Unfortunately, unlike a language like Spanish, which uses a handful of predictable rules to determine the stressed syllable in each word, English is chaotic. So whenever as teachers we are there in the class, you can find that some students, they behave like robo. No, they are not robos, but the way they speak, without any intonation, without any stress, they just want to communicate in one or the other way without creating that desired effect, makes them robo. So it's not that they don't have any feel of the language. Probably they just don't know how to use stress and intonation to convey intention and meaning. That's why the importance to teach and to learn intonation and stress and rhythm, very, very important. Now there are 4 different functions of English stress. By proposed 4 different functions. They are distinctive function, highlight function, rhythmic function and communicative functions. Stress must be considered from the perspective of both the speaker and the listener, as said by Taylor. If the speaker does not use stress in an appropriate way, the native speakers might find it difficult to understand words. It also would make the listener misunderstand what the speaker is trying to say. So the purpose to communicate properly in a proper language gets defeated. For example, if I say a new display, I said a new display. A person cannot understand it, it will become a new display. Therefore, stress is not an optional extra, but rather a core part of the language. It becomes just mandatory to put right stress on the right syllable. A new display. I put stress a new display. So, not a new display. Much of the research indicates that native speakers organize English by stress patterns in their brains. They process the sounds and listen for the stress patterns rather than individual sounds. Poetry is also a great way to practice sentence stress, as poetry is actually based on regular stress or meter or patterns. We can teach students a simple poem, such as you can say, for example, Robert Frost has written a poem, Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. I just speak a few lines of that poem in front of you. Woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. Miles to go before I sleep, miles to go before I sleep. So, with the use of the rising sound, falling sound, with the use of the stress, I can make the meaning clear even without explaining it to the listener. So after reciting it, now you can try writing the own similar poems, imitating Frost's style, stress, meter patterns, and understand in a better way how to understand the language in a better way. When we call stressed or unstressed, information words are often stressed and function words are usually unstressed. On your screen you can find out that what are the basic stressed and what are the things that are unstressed. Pronouncing words with one vowel in a syllable. If there is one vowel surrounded by consonants in a syllable, it is pronounced with its relative vowel. This is common with short words such as add, sit, pin, hop or cut. This is one vowel in the middle, in the sit, pin. So we are just using this particular rule. Each syllable has only one vowel sound. When a consonant separates two vowels, divide the word after the first vowel and before the consonant, like student, result, examine. When the vowel is at the end of a syllable, it has a long sound called an open syllable. Maybe, anecdote. So this last one is being stressed. When the vowel is not at the end of a syllable, it has a short sound called a closed syllable. Mad, subject, convent. Syllables are divided between doubled consonants unless the doubled consonant is part of a syllable that is a base word. Dinner, swimming, teller. Monosyllabic prefixes and suffixes are not divided, like illegal, uncommon, government, courageous. In the same way, plurisyllabic prefixes and suffixes are divided. Anti-war, undertake, velocity, hypothetical. So you see that the prefixes and suffixes are divided because it is plurisyllabic. Two-syllable verbs with an inseparable prefix generally have the primary stress on the second syllable. To explain, to present, to deny, to produce. Two-syllable nouns with an inseparable prefix generally have the primary stress on the first syllable, like expert, present, proverb. We also have three-syllable words. The stress in three-syllable words can vary from word to word. You can compare telegraph, removal. If the prefix separable or inseparable is bisyllabic, there is secondary stress on the first syllable of the prefix and primary stress on the third syllables. Understand, understand. Intervene, supersede, override. You can find with the three-syllable words how to put the stress. Then we have voiced and unvoiced sounds. Voiced are all the sounds that make your vocal cord vibrate when pronounced. Fortunately, almost every vowel and consonant in English are voiced. There are only 7 exceptions that are known as unvoiced or voiceless. F, K, P, S, T, SH and CH. Sh and ch. 3 tricky ways to pronounce past tense verbs. Verbs ending with the t or d sound. Add the extra syllable ed to the word and pronounce it as id to pronounce it in the past tense. For example, we have NEED, need, when it is needed. NEED, we write ed but pronounce it as id. We say needed. We say wanted, waited or constructed. Verbs ending with a voiced sound where vocal cords vibrate, we add only a d sound at end of the verb to pronounce it in the past tense. Like arrive becomes arrived, move becomes moved, play played, and smile, smiled. It is the simple one and very common also. Verbs ending with an unvoiced sound that I told you, f, k, p, s, t, sh and ch. Add a t sound at the end to pronounce in the past. Like work becomes worked, stop, stopped, ask, asked, miss, missed. This is the pronunciation portion, not the written one. We all know that English as a written, in the written form and in the spoken form, it's different. There are 3 different ways to pronounce ch, the word ch, not always ch. Ch sounds like ch. I learned that the correct ch pronunciation includes a stop sound like tch. This works about 85% of the time with words such as cheese, cheese and much, much. Somewhere this t sound, this t is not there, but it is just mixed with ch sound and it comes much. Ch sounds like sh. In a few occasions, ch sounds like sh, such as machine. We write machine, but we pronounce as sh, not machine, but machine, or Chicago, chica, and it sounds like shi. Failing to make a distinction between these 2 rules is the most common mistake one makes. In Spanish, we use the sh sound for ch, like in the words chango and Sharon. Ch sounds like k also. There are some times that it sounds like ka, like architect. We say architect, but we write archi. Schedule. No, it's not. It's schedule. We pronounce it as schedule. Or stomach. Stomach. We pronounce it at the end k, but write ch. We have weak forms also. Learners must use the weak forms, otherwise their language will sound unnatural and over formalized, with too many stressed forms making it difficult for the listener to identify the point of focus, and the fluency will also not be there. Again, a chair and a table becomes a chair and a table. This and becomes n, a chair and a table. So this is sufficient because it is a weak form and we must accept it to bring fluency in our spoken language. You must have heard shiva sound. Shiva. The shiva, whose phonemic symbol looks like an upside down E, you can see on your screen, which is an unstressed weak sound that occurs in many English words. Most unstressed syllables in English are reduced and pronounced as a shiva. The American English greeting, how are you doing, for example, is really pronounced, how are you doing? The structure words are and you get reduced to shiva. That we just forget that. How are you doing? This is, there comes fluency, there comes naturalness, and it becomes the part and parcel of the language. After stress, we must take care of the rhythm. The literal meaning of rhythm is a strong, regular, repeated pattern of sounds or movements, according to the New Oxford Learner's Dictionary. Different words in a sentence have a stronger stress and are pronounced longer, and other words are weaker and shorter. This pattern of strong and weak stress and short and long pronunciation gives a particular rhythm to the speech. Like placing the stress on the wrong syllable within a word, placing stress on the wrong word in a sentence may lead to confusion on the speaker's inability to convey exactly what he or she means. When I say John got a new job, it can be stressed in a different way. John got a new job. When I put a stress on John, it means only John got the job and no one else. John got a new job. It means we are talking that he has just entered into a new job. John got a new job. He didn't get a new car. He didn't get a new pencil or pen. He got a new job. We are putting stress on a particular word to emphasize that. And so we are clear in our speech what to say and what to communicate. The English language can be ambiguous to even native speakers. This is evident in that we are sometimes reduced to spelling words out loud. For example, I meant the red book, not read book, in order to clarify. The first one is RED. I meant the red book, RED, not the READ, read. Now, with the stress, there comes pitch also, that we call rising and falling sound, intonation. Students often don't use the right pitch to convey feelings. A word really can become a question as well as answer. Suppose I ask, have you done this? Really? Here comes the question. The answer, really, I have done it. Here it is the part of answer and it's not the question. So only the pitch makes the difference, that if it is in the rising sound, it becomes the question, and if it is the falling sound, it becomes an answer. Yes, no questions have the rising pitch towards the end. Questions that begin with WH words have a falling intonation. Statements have a falling intonation. Question tags may have, either depending on the intention of the speaker, question tags that are comments or observations have a falling intonation, while question tags used to check information or express uncertainty have a rising intonation. To conclude, I would like to remind you that never forget the connection and the relationship of stress, intonation and rhythm in a connected speech. Whenever we want to convey something, some emotions, and the thing that we have in our mind, if we want to communicate it properly, we will have to take care of the stress, the right pitch, that is intonation, and rhythm, so that the learner or the listener may decode it in the same way as you said. To make your speech influential, to be a better speaker, to be a better orator, you will have to do mastery over patterns of stress, rhythm and intonation in the connected speech. Thank you for visiting EPG Pathshala.